When you grow old, and you will if you're fortunate, you will carry the weight of your past decisions. Age is not merely a number, it is an accumulation of choices, regrets, wisdom, and responsibilities. So it matters what you say, what you do, and where you choose to spend the dwindling currency of your time. Let me give you a framework. 3 things not to say, 3 things not to do, and 3 places not to go. Not because you mustn't, but because if you do, you may find yourself staring into the mirror with despair rather than dignity. When you say it's too late for me, you declare surrender not to time, but to fear, regret, and self-abandonment. It's a sentence cloaked in finality, but beneath it is a deeper, more dangerous message. That growth has an expiration date, that contribution has a time limit, and that your relevance is tethered to your youth. This kind of thinking becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start acting smaller, thinking smaller, and eventually you become invisible to yourself. Not because others have forgotten you, but because you've quietly stepped out of the story you're still meant to write. The reality is, we don't stop being capable when we age, we stop being encouraged. Our culture obsesses over speed, newness, and efficiency. It glorifies the hustle of youth, but forgets the power of depth, nuance, and experience. But aging offers a unique vantage point. Perspective that only time can buy. You've lived. You've seen failure, loss, love, change. You know what matters. And that knowledge is needed maybe now more than ever. When someone older says, it's too late, what they often mean is, I'm afraid to start again and fail. That's fair. But fear isn't an excuse to disappear. It's a signal to pay attention. If there's breath in your body and clarity in your mind, then you can create, influence, and serve. The form might change. Maybe you're not building businesses or climbing mountains anymore, but wisdom has a force of its own. One conversation can redirect someone's life. One story can light up an entire room. And let's not forget the example you set by refusing to give up reverberates far beyond you. Younger generations are watching. If they see you claim your value in your later years, they might begin to believe that their future isn't a slow decline, but a deepening. So don't say it's too late. Don't think it. Don't let it nest in your soul. Age doesn't disqualify you from meaning. It positions you to offer it in a pure form. You may be older, but you're not finished. You may be slower, but you're more precise. And you may have fewer years ahead, but that only makes each one burn more brightly if you choose to show up. I told you so is the sentence of someone more interested in being right than being helpful. It masquerades as wisdom, but at its core, it's a weapon of ego. When you say those words, what you're really doing is rubbing salt into an already open wound. The person on the receiving end is likely already suffering the consequences of a poor decision. They don't need a reminder that you predicted their downfall. What they need is understanding, guidance, and maybe even forgiveness. To say, I told you so, is to say, I was above you, when what they might need to hear is, I'm still with you. There is a difference between being wise and being wise-hearted. Wisdom without compassion becomes arrogance. It alienates instead of connects. And when you're older, when you've already been through the fire and come out on the other side, your value doesn't come from your ability to say, I knew this would happen. Your value comes from your ability to help someone find their way back from a place you've already escaped. The goal isn't to show that you saw the storm coming. The goal is to be the lighthouse once it hits. The deeper tragedy of saying, "I told you so," is that it often closes the door on the very relationship that needed your mentorship. If someone is brave enough to return to you after failing to listen the first time, that's a moment of trust. It's a vulnerable, tender space. And what you choose to say in that moment either builds a bridge or burns. Do you want to be remembered as the person who gloated or the one who extended a hand? It's not easy to hold your tongue, especially when your warnings were ignored and the fallout was predictable. But wisdom isn't about saying everything you're right about. It's about knowing what not to say when the truth is already self-evident. People remember who helped them when they were at their lowest. They remember the silence that held grace instead of judgment. That's the legacy worth leaving behind. Not that you were always right, but that you were kind enough not to weaponize your foresight. Let your wisdom speak quietly, through presence, not pride. Regret has a way of sneaking up on us, particularly as we age. It comes quietly at first as a thought here and there, but over time it can become a heavy, oppressive presence that clouds the present moment. When you catch yourself saying, "I wish I had," you're not just revisiting a past decision, you're planting the seeds of your own misery. That phrase ties you to a version of yourself that doesn't exist anymore, one that's frozen in time. And the more you repeat it, the less you allow yourself to grow. You imprison yourself in a past you cannot change. Let me say, "I wish I had." You are implicitly giving up your agency in the present. It's as if you are saying that the past is where your power lies, when in fact, the only real power you have is in the now. Wishing for a different past is like trying to drive forward while staring in the rearview mirror. It gets you nowhere. What you needed then was the wisdom you have now. But it's pointless to mourn. Instead, focus on what you can do now, what you can do today, what you can do for someone else or for yourself. "I wish I had" is the language of the victim, and you are no victim. You have the capacity to act, to reframe, to rebuild. Furthermore, the more you dwell in "I wish I had," the more you diminish your capacity for growth. Regret is like a dead weight around your ankles. It keeps you from moving forward. But the weight is self-imposed. The truth is, regret doesn't need to be your companion. Instead, let it be a teacher. Let it inform you without consuming you. Regret can be a powerful catalyst for change if you allow it to be, but it must be channeled into action. Regret without action is the poison that erodes your future. So rather than lingering in "I wish I had," turn it into a call to action. Think instead, now, what can I do? Or how can I use what I've learned to make a difference now? The time you still have is precious. It doesn't matter what you didn't do then, it matters what you do today. Nostalgia can be a beautiful thing when it serves as a reminder of fond memories, moments of growth, or milestones reached. But when it becomes a refuge from the challenges of the present, it can be an insidious trap. As you age, it's tempting to retreat into the past, into a time when life seemed simpler, when your body was younger, or when the world appeared less complicated. But this kind of nostalgia doesn't enrich your life. It robs you of the chance to engage fully with the present and the future. When you live in nostalgia, you essentially shut yourself off from the reality of the now. You become disconnected from the life that is still unfolding in front of you. The past is a place of comfort, but it's not a place to live. If you dwell in it, you'll start to lose touch with the present moment. Every day will feel like an attempt to recapture something that no longer exists. You will be chasing after a version of yourself that has already moved on. As you get older, it's critical to understand that you are still part of a living, evolving world. You are still a participant in the unfolding of your own life story. The world doesn't stop because you want it to. The world continues to change, to grow, and so should you. You may not be as fast or as physically capable as you once were, but you are still able to contribute in meaningful ways. If you remain locked in nostalgia, you miss the opportunity to shape the future with your experiences, your wisdom, and your unique perspective. The danger of nostalgia is that it can make you feel like the best parts of life are behind you, and this isn't true. Life, especially as you age, still has richness and depth waiting to be discovered. There are new relationships to form, new experiences to embrace, and new ways of growing. But if your mind is always in the past, you can never fully embrace these possibilities. Nostalgia isn't bad in itself, but when it holds you hostage, it steals your agency. It takes away the freedom to create, to build, and to grow in the here and now. You're still alive. Your story isn't over yet. And while the past may have been a beautiful chapter, don't let it be the one you're stuck rereading forever. Your future holds just as much, if not more meaning, if you allow it to. Lifelong learning is one of the most powerful forces you can cultivate, particularly as you grow older. The moment you stop learning, you start dying, not in the physical sense, but in a deeper existential way. The mind, like the body, thrives on exercise, challenge, and engagement. When you cease to expand your knowledge and understanding, you begin to atrophy mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But the beauty of learning is that it knows no age limit. The moment you think you're too old to learn, you've made a choice to stop evolving. Learning keeps the mind sharp and engaged. It opens up new possibilities and connections, helping you stay relevant in a world that doesn't slow down for anyone. It doesn't matter if you're learning a new language, a new instrument, or simply reading a book on a subject you know nothing about. Every piece of information adds to the puzzle of your experience, giving you a deeper, more nuanced perspective on life. Even in your later years, the acquisition of new knowledge can help you make sense of the world around you, offering clarity and a sense of purpose. Moreover, learning fosters a sense of curiosity. And curiosity is the antidote to stagnation. When you remain curious, the world becomes a place of endless discovery. And curiosity doesn't fade with age. In fact, it can deepen as you accumulate life experience. With each new thing you learn, you become better equipped to navigate the complexities of the world, as well as to understand the intricacies of human relationships, technology, culture, and society. A curious mind remains open to the unknown, to what is yet to be discovered, and to the opportunities that lie ahead. The act of learning also reinforces a sense of agency. It tells you that you're not powerless, that you can still grow, adapt, and make meaningful changes in your life. It affirms that the path forward is not blocked, no matter how many years have passed. The pursuit of knowledge allows you to have a voice in the world, to contribute to conversations, to offer insight, and to remain engaged with what's going on around you. Without learning, you risk becoming isolated, disconnected from the flow of the world, and perhaps even from yourself. Learning is a way to stay vibrant, to continue to participate fully in life. It's a way to ensure that you don't become irrelevant to yourself or to others. A mind that's actively engaged is a mind that remains strong, capable, and willing to embrace whatever the future may hold. Isolation is one of the greatest threats to mental, emotional, and even physical well-being as you age. When you isolate yourself, you begin to sever the bonds that connect you to the world, and in doing so, you diminish the very essence of life. People are social creatures, wired to connect, share, and engage with others. As we age, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that solitude offers comfort or security. But the truth is that isolation often becomes a slow, insidious form of self-imposed decline. When you isolate yourself, you rob yourself of the benefits that come from human interaction. Conversation, even the most mundane or casual, has the power to stimulate the mind, improve mood, and foster a sense of belonging. Whether it's a neighbor, a friend, a family member, or even a stranger, the act of sharing a moment with another person reinforces the feeling that you are not alone in this world. It reminds you that you have something to offer and that you are still part of the larger human story. Without this interaction, it's easy to fall into the trap of feeling invisible, irrelevant, or disconnected. Moreover, isolation often exacerbates feelings of loneliness, and loneliness is a destructive force. It affects your mental health, increases the risk of depression, and can even have serious consequences on physical health. Studies have shown that prolonged loneliness can contribute to a weakened immune system, poor sleep, and higher levels of stress. When you isolate yourself, you may begin to spiral into negative thoughts, feeding into a cycle of disconnection and despair. The remedy to this isn't necessarily finding new friends or social circles. It's about simply being present, reaching out, and staying engaged with those who matter to you. Isolation also limits opportunities for growth. The richness of life comes from shared experiences, from challenging one another, from learning from others and offering your own wisdom in return. Without relationships, you miss out on these exchanges. Also, deprive others of the gifts you have to offer. Your wisdom, your insight, and your life experience. You have lived through things that others may be struggling with, and by staying connected, you can help guide them. But this can only happen if you remain an active participant in the world around you. At its core, isolation is a choice, and it's a choice that limits your possibilities. Don't let it define your later years. Reaching out, even in small ways, can open doors to new experiences, new friendships, and new avenues for meaning. Relationships are the fabric of life. By staying engaged, you ensure that you continue to be part of that fabric, weaving your unique thread into the ever-unfolding tapestry of the world. As we journey through life, age becomes not just a measure of years, but an opportunity for profound transformation. It's easy to get caught in the patterns of the past, to believe that the best of us has already come and gone. But I urge you to see aging as the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with opportunities to contribute, grow, and evolve. The decisions you make today, the words you speak, the actions you take, and the places you choose to go all shape the legacy you leave behind. Remember, it's never too late to start again. Wisdom is built upon the foundation of your experiences, and you are a living testament to that. Do not waste your time lamenting the past or clinging to what could have been. Instead, use your experiences to guide and uplift those around you. Choose to keep learning, to keep growing, and to stay connected, for these are the things that give life its meaning. And so I leave you with these thoughts. Speak words that lift others, not words that diminish. Act in ways that invite growth and discovery, not in ways that limit your potential. And go to the places that fuel your spirit, not the ones that keep you bound to what is familiar but unhelpful. Your future is still ahead of you, and it's rich with possibility if you choose to engage with it. Thank you for your time, for your attention, and for the wisdom you carry. May your days ahead be filled with the courage to embrace the journey, the grace to be kind to yourself, and the wisdom to always continue forward. Goodbye, and take care.